Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, I should say. Welcome to the 2021 SmartARTS Education Institute. This morning, we have Tim Davis with us, who's going to be leading a workshop on creative writing and illustration. So I'm very excited to have Tim here with us. I do also want to give a shout out to some of our sponsors. First of all, we are housed at the TD Center for Arts Integration, thanks to the generous support of TD Bank and the TD Charitable Foundation. And of course, this year's SmartARTS Education Institute is being headline sponsored by Prisma Health. On Wednesday, everyone is going to be receiving a t-shirt that says SmartARTS on the front, and on the back, all of our many sponsors are going to be recognized on that t-shirt. And we're also going to be recognizing everybody at the lunch on Wednesday. So we are looking forward to seeing you all on Wednesday at the Huguenot Mill at the Peace Center. That is, of course, optional, but the Huguenot Mill is located down the side of the Peace Center. So we may be seeing you there. Without any further ado, I am going to go ahead and introduce Tim and let him get on with his fabulous workshop. Please, just as a way of reminder, if you are doing this later today, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, do not forget to put in your attendance code by 4:30 after you have completed all of the items in the Nearpod and the attendance document. For those of you just coming in, you do want to go ahead and open up the Google document that I sent yesterday, and we are currently live on YouTube. So Tim Davis is the author illustrator of 11 children's books published by Journey Forth and illustrated for various children's publishers, including Highlights Magazine, Scholastic, and Fisher-Price. Tim teaches continuing education courses in writing and illustrating at both Furman University's OLLI program and Greenville Technical College in Greenville, South Carolina. He has been a teaching artist with us for a number of years, and we're very excited to have him lead this workshop. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Kimberly. Appreciate that. So, yeah, she just updated my bio this morning because I said if it says 10 books, it's really 11 because one came out this week. So I'm not keeping up that well, but you are. Thank you. Anyway, just I think what most people know anything about me know is that I've worked for Highlights for a long time, and I've done a lot of hidden pictures for the magazine. In fact, I did more than anybody, and that was not intentional. It just happened. In fact, I was surprised when I found out. So I'm going to start with a little bit about Highlights, just to give a little feel for it. Probably a lot of you got the magazine, or at least are familiar with it. So hopefully it will bring up some warm, fuzzy feelings when you see things about the magazine up here. So I'm going to start with that. And we'll start with the magazine. I will ask you some questions when I'm done. I'm going to stop. And there's lots of numbers in here. This is what I do with kids too. So this is make sure that you're actually listening to what they say. We're going to ask a lot of questions at the end about the numbers that come up in here because they're kind of impressive. All right, I'm hoping you can see that all right.
Highlights has connected with children in a way that I don't think anything else has.
Highlights magazine is an American icon.
It is one of the few general interest magazines for children.
It's 44 pages, and that's including the covers. That's not a whole lot every month.
We don't accept any advertising on our pages, so it's commercial-free completely.
We make it for kids ages 6 to 12.
We're very proud to reach at least 2 million households each month.
We've been around for 70 years. We're family run by a family that strongly believes in what we're doing.
Highlights has managed to weather a lot of storms.
We are trying to create a magazine for kids today that is going to resonate with them.
It's that emotional connection. That's what makes highlights so special to children.
All right. Now, there is a particular part of highlights that I do, and that is hidden pictures. So I have the rest of this video is primarily about hidden pictures. So let's see. I don't know if I need to go back to share screen here again. And you'll see the second part of this video. And this is George Brown. He's one of the family, and he's going to talk about hidden pictures here.
Anna, who's 8 years old, she loves looking at the hidden pictures puzzle. And the other day when she brought over a copy of Highlights magazine, she said, "Look, Daddy, you can see the whole scene and what's going on here." And she could tell the story of kind of the humor behind what the dog was doing in that scene. So she was looking at that piece of art as a piece of story and then engaging in the hidden objects and finding the objects. And so there's got to be something to be had there of the hidden objects allow a child to stay on that page for a longer time and hopefully engage with that story.
Okay, that's kind of an important concept there that I talk about. And that is that hidden pictures are not just to be pretty art, they're all illustrations. And we talk about the difference between those two. A lot of times kids are not familiar with the difference between an illustration and a piece of art. And I like to say that for a piece of art, it's just something pretty you hang on the wall usually. And it can be beautiful. It could be a picture of flowers or a landscape or like that, but it's not a story. So one of the requirements for hidden pictures is that it has a story that goes with it. Now, that doesn't mean we write it, but it means that we could write it. We have enough information in that picture that we could write a narrative about it. So that's important, and we'll get to that a little bit more in a bit. The other thing about that that's important is because it's an illustration and it does have its own story to it, we want the kids to look at it carefully. We don't want them to just say, "Oh, I know what that is," and then just lay it aside. That's part of the reason why there are hidden objects in there, is so that kids will look at the picture a lot, and while they're looking for hidden objects, they're also really studying the scene so they get an idea of what the story is about, and they might even be able to tell the story. That's the goal for these kind of pictures. So that gives you an idea of what I've done a lot of. We're going to be getting back to a lot of that in just a bit, but I want to make a little transition before we come back. And we're going to be using the Nearpod #1 for this, but this is going to be about more about writing. So if you want to pull up that Nearpod with the code that I think you gave that code out, right, Kimberly? Right, yeah, the code up in left-hand corner, 7MPZ9. All right, so let me go to the first one here. If I were to tell you that you can write anything, and I just give you a blank sheet of paper. Or instead, I give you a piece of paper with very detailed instructions about this particular fast food you're supposed to write about. It's going to come out pretty different. And some people are going to prefer the first one, just write anything. Some people are going to prefer the second one, and vice versa. That some people will not like the first one, and some people will not like the second one. The first one is kind of free, right? It's just, it can be anything, and we don't really know what we're going to get. The other one is very orderly and controlled. So we can do the same thing with a drawing. I can say, draw anything and give you a blank sheet of paper, or I can give you very detailed instructions to draw that particular cabinet and put it in 3-point perspective. And some of you would probably not want to do that. But it's the same principle, is we can be very directed and very ordered in our creative process, or we can be free and just like whatever you come up with is what we're going to do. So we have order, which I think most of the time teachers prefer over chaos, right? I'm guessing. Chaos is useful though, and it doesn't even necessarily go with it doesn't even stay in one font. Chaos is very disorderly and creative. But order and chaos can work together. Let's look at this a little bit. Which one fosters creativity? The answer is really both of them do. You really need to have a combination of order and chaos to do your best creative work. So maybe I need to kind of rein in what that chaos means. It doesn't mean kids running all over the room and all that, but it's chaos in the way we construct the work. So I have a little example here. This particular book, The Island Rule, which I have with me today, and we're going to do some things with, was written as a sequel to the other 5 books there called the Mice books. That they were out for a while, and they were all definitely about those 2 mice. In the last book, the mice visit an island, and I don't know if you can see it real well in there, but the island is this island. And they meet a lot of creatures on that island and have a lot of adventures, and then they leave. Well, I got entranced with those creatures on the island. So I wrote another book, and that was kind of a spin-off called The Island Rule. And that's what this is. But when I first wrote it, there was a problem with it. And why that guy is sitting there with the book is he was a barista who had read the first books when he was a kid. And he wanted to know if there was any more books in that series because he really liked those when he was a kid. So I said, well, there is one, but it's in the attic and never got it published. I couldn't get it published. There's something wrong with it. So he said, how about you get it out of the attic, bring it to me, and I'm going to see if I can help you fix it because I would really like to see this book out here. So when we looked at what the book was like, there's some decorations here. That is actually not the way the coffee design was done, by the way. That's a little Photoshop job there. Anyway, the book was fun. It had characters that I liked. And every time I would pick it up when I would be in the attic and look at it, it would get to a certain point. I would love it. I'd say, why am I not publishing this book? And then it would get to that one point in the story where it fell flat. And the problem was there was just a little bit of chaos in there. And it went from order to a little bit of chaos to that order again. And it didn't really grow. The story didn't really grow. And that's part of what Ethan pointed out to me. He said, I think you need more stuff going on here. And he gave some suggestions. You need more chaos. So that is what I settled on, is when I'm writing a story, I don't want it to be order to order. Now, there could be order at the end, but it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same order as it was at the beginning. So I've got to raise the stakes. So the way the book was changed when I revised it was to put a lot more threats to the order. There was newcomers in the first version just from the sea, and they were going to change the order, but only slightly. But now we have 2 sets of visitors. We have the creatures from the sea, and we have pirates coming. So obviously the chances of how this is going to turn out is up in the air, depending on which order we end up with. So that is what makes the story better. It made it much better because it needed more chaos. So afterwards, he got the first signed copy. Ethan was well-deserved that way. On the right, I got it promoted by an actual pirate, surprisingly. When I released the book, there was a fellow outside in the parking lot dressed up like a pirate, which some of you may recognize. Does anybody know who that is? Because he works in the Greenville school system. If you do, just say it or write it out. Well, that is Matt Boone. Matt Boone is, some of you probably know him. He does a lot of, he does video teaching, and he's also got a lot of characters that he does. So he was, this was when I met Matt. He was also had been a reader of mine, and since then we've been friends. All right, so what I'd like to do is get you a little introduced to 3 of the characters by letting you do a reading. So do you have anybody in there would like to read and they have a good connection? I have 3 parts. I'm going to read the black part as the narrator. So what I need is somebody to be each of these three characters. Zani is the sea turtle, who's the one who kind of comes in and upsets everything because she doesn't really believe much in rules. She's used to freedom, just doing whatever she wants and just hoping she doesn't get eaten. Jajumbi is the gecko who is kind of in the ambassador for the rules. He is so excited about the rules on the island and believes that they're so wonderful and perfect that he's made songs up about them and he sings them a lot. Bufo is kind of his right-hand man, and he finds Zani originally, and he says, "Well, I can't really explain much because he's a frog of few words." So he takes Zani over to Jajumbi, and this is the scene where Zani meets Jajumbi. So what I'm hoping is that I have 3 volunteers, somebody to be Zani, somebody to be Jajumbi, and somebody to be Bufo. So if you are one, can you tell me you are? Tell me your name.
All right.
I'll read.
Okay, I've got Miss Catherine Hunterbreaker has agreed to do Zani, Miss Nilsson, and I just heard another voice that I'm not on gallery view, Tim, so I can't see
That's
anybody.
Julie. I'll read.
Okay, and Julie will read. Great.
Okay.
Let's
All right.
see here.
So you notice they're color coded here? Makes it easier for you.
So we've got Ms. Hunterbreaker. Am I saying your last name correctly? Because I feel like I'm not.
Hunterbreaker, that's fine. Just say Kate. You can say Kate.
Kate.
It's fine.
Kate.
Yeah.
Kate said that she will be Zani.
There's all the blue words.
Julie, who did you want to read?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. What's the next character, Tim?
Jajumbi is the lizard, and he's all the green words.
Okay.
Be Jajumbi.
Yep. And then Ms. Nielsen.
Bufo is a very small part, but important.
Nanette, are you good to do, what's the other
Bufo?
character, Tim?
Is it Bufo?
Bufo.
Bufo?
Right.
Bufo.
Okay.
And I will be the narrator. Are we ready then?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Zani meets Jajumbi. Perhaps Bufo's grunting along made him notice, but upon seeing his guests, the geckos stopped and greeted them with a broad smile.
To that.
Hello.
Nice song.
Said Zani.
How does it turn out? How did it turn out?
Who knows?
Jajumbi laughed.
I just make it up as I go along.
He welcomed them to sit by his cooking fire and chat a while.
Take something to eat, then you can tell us your story.
After all the proper introductions were made, Zani ate a few bites, then began to tell about her adventures at sea. Jajumbi and Bufo were impressed, as Zani had expected. By the time she got to the part where she surfed into the island, nearly all the food was gone. The wind was blowing harder than ever.
Good stew.
Croaked Bufo, licking his mouth.
I call it the blessing stew because it's made out of all the blessings of the island.
The gecko smiled.
I just take what the island gives and mix it up as I go along.
Zani chuckled.
You're really into this give and take idea around here, aren't you?
Islands rule.
Added Bufo. Zani rolled her eyes and Jajumbi seemed to notice it. Then the turtle pointed to herself and said,
I'm from the sea, and out there, everybody watches out for herself. I've survived pretty well, so
I think you dropped out there. Are you done with that? I couldn't hear. I think you dropped out there. All right. So Jajumbi can go.
Yes.
Jajumbi nodded.
The sea is a big place and hard to know who your neighbor is. Everybody is always moving about from here to there to here.
He moved his arms and made swishing motions. Sorry.
One never knows where she'll be tomorrow. Not in the sea, but here. Different.
Croaked Bufo.
Right, my friend.
The gecko continued.
It's different here. Folks stay put And so we learn to give and take.
All right, good job, everybody. I think that Jajumbi person there, you really got the sense. You said bead right too, which is one of the tests of a reader is, do you say bead the way it's supposed to be said? Anyway, this gives you an idea of the dynamics here. It's the sea culture meeting the island culture, and the island culture is very orderly and very much believes that that's the best way to live. And Zani is just not convinced of that, nor are other creatures from the sea, but she's there on the island now. She's friendly, they're friendly, but it's kind of an intercultural experience for them. They're trying to figure out who each other are and how their society works. So that gives you a little introduction. There are more characters that show up, but we're just going to talk about those right now. So then I have a parallel here because this was SmartARTS in order, right? This was in 2019, and actually early 2020, because that class that I was teaching ended on March 6th. It was with Sherry Smith over at Tigerville. And you know, March 6th was almost like just a day or so before everything shut down. So I was able to finish my unit. I was really glad about that. But that order, that whole way of doing things got kind of befuddled, right? So we entered into this time of chaos. And the chaos was something that we had to find order in. So one of the ways that Kimberly found order was she sent us off to the daycare centers. So I have a picture of that up there. I think that's something. I can't remember the name of that, T Nation or something. Anyway, we did. Yeah, that's right. We did stuff at the daycare centers, a couple of them. And I know that lots of the makers or lots of the artists were getting around there. I also ended up working with Kristen, who's another teaching artist at Makers, and she was doing some things similar, but most of those were remote. We did that remote. Then in the classrooms, I'm working with these two teachers who were both virtual teachers last year, Coral Hesley and Shelley Sykes, and they're at the bottom. So you see, we were doing lots of remote stuff. So we were trying to figure out how to take the chaos and bring some order back to it. So I think you all did a lot of that. So I am wondering, what order did you discover in the chaos of 2020? And what did you create as a result of that? So if you want to put in a little answer there, that would be kind of fun to find out.
Tim, do you want to hide your screen so that it's not on the Zoom? You want to hide your answer screen so it doesn't put everybody's answers onto the Zoom immediately?
Oh, okay. I'll just put it down here. That good?
Here we go. Perfect.
I'm actually pretty curious about this because I know what happened to us as SmartARTS, and I also know what happened to me. One of the things that I've mentioned is I wrote books. I wrote 3 books during that time. When I was taking walks in the woods by myself, I got inspired about mushrooms, and all of a sudden I was writing books about mushrooms, and I got really into that. So that was a creative thing that came out of that chaos. So I don't know if anybody has any other things. Maybe I'll take a look at it here and see what kind of answers we're getting. All right, so that kind of sets us into what we're going to be doing next. We did talk about hidden pictures a little bit at the beginning. And so I want to do a very, very quick hidden picture, which is just done with your hands. You can see that example there, and I'm going to go through that with you. And then we're going to do an illustration, and we're going to use the characters, some of which we talked about in that reading from Island Rule, and then we're going to use some of the settings. Now, you don't know the story, and that's good, because what I'm going to do is just like put out a character, a scene, and you're going to draw things based on just whatever the cubes come out from those random prompts, and you're going to bring some order to it. But I want to first start with the hand hiding. So I think that we're going to do a little drawing here. So that is, I'm going to pull out of here stop sharing. And we are going to do something with drawing. I'm going to show you this hands-on thing first. Let me bring it up and then I'll share that and then we'll do it. I think that'll make it a little easier for you. Oops. This one. Now this one was another thing I did during COVID. I did some programming for SCETV, which I hadn't expected to do.
Let's see how we do a little project that will give us an idea about how things hide. I have an idea about what we can do. And what I want to do is get a piece of paper.
So you can do this.
Much like this girl in the picture has, but I'm going to just trace my hand. So let me just do that real quick. Okay, so if you look at my picture here, you can see I've traced my hand, but that's not gonna, I'm not gonna be able to hide anything in that. I need more things. So what I'm gonna do is turn the paper, trace my hand again. And that's a little better. You're starting to see the lines cross, so it makes it a little easier to find things. So I'm going to keep doing it. I think I'll do it 2 more times. So now it's getting more complicated, and I think I'll do 1 more. I'll keep my fingers kind of close together this time. All right. Now, if you look at this, we've got an awful lot of lines crisscrossing here. So do you think maybe we might be able to see things that look kind of like familiar objects? So I'm going to look at it, see if I see any. There's certain things that I almost always see. So let me look for an ice cream cone, and I bet I'll find one. In fact, if I were to do that, I find one right here, and I'm going to make it darker so you can see it. This one right up here. I didn't even add any lines, and what I did was found an ice cream cone that was just hiding in the crisscrossed lines. Probably we'll be able to find, oh, actually here's another ice cream cone. I'm going to do that one too. So there's another one over here. So we have 2 ice cream cones. I bet I can find a heart. Often hearts appear when I do this, or bells. A fish. There's a fish. Let me draw the fish in here. And that was just right up here. So you can see how just looking around for familiar objects in all this mess of lines, we can see hidden objects. And that is one of the best things about the way we do hidden objects. When we do the picture first and not think about what we're going to hide, sometimes things just magically appear. And those things are the things that hide the best. So we'll talk a little bit more about illustration next in the next lesson.
Okay. So I think you got an idea of what we did there, right? Maybe some of you actually did it. I have mine here. I don't know if you can see my crisscross lines. Did anybody else do that and want to hold it up? See Julie there. You got a picture. All right. Anybody else want to hold one up? Did you see some things? Now, see, that's the thing is when we look at this, we might say, well, do I see familiar looking objects in the midst of this chaos? Can I make some order out of it? Do I find familiar patterns? So you might see things, and ice cream cones are the most common, I guess, in the particular shapes we're using. But I've gotten all kinds of things from kids. They see things that I wouldn't have expected to be there. But a lot of times we'll see bells, bowls, coffee cups. We might even add a little bit just to make it a little bit more like a coffee cup. Like I'm going to show you this one down here. Can you see that? See that coffee cup there? Here, I just added a handle onto it. And if you look at other places, you might see an ice cream cone. I think I see one. If I turn that upside down, you see that? It's in the, right in here. So if you're looking in your paper, you're probably going to see things that make a pattern, a familiar pattern in the midst of the chaos of the crisscross lines. And one of the reasons I like to do this is that the best hiding things are things that hide by accident or very closely, almost hide by accident. So that's why I don't want them to think about, hey, we're going to make a hidden picture. In fact, this is one of my little tricks that I learned over time. I used to tell them that the next thing we're going to do is make a hidden picture out of a drawing. But when they did that, all they would do is think about hidden pictures. They wouldn't actually think about the drawing. So I say, now we're going to do something different. And that's what, now you know the secret, but you have to believe me. We're doing something different now. We are going to do an illustration. So the illustration is going to come from the story cubes. So if I get out a couple of story cubes, I think you can see these. Let's see. Let me do it this way. I got an island and a crab. How about that? Everybody see the island and the crab? Now you don't know much about these things. You know there's an island. You know this is the island from the island rule. I haven't talked about the crab, but what I want you to do is take your blank sheet of paper. So get your big white sheet of blank paper. And I like to do it sideways, to tell you the truth, rather than as a horizontal rather than the vertical. I just think you can fit more stuff in there as a horizontal. So go ahead and get that paper, and I want you on that paper draw an island and a crab. All right, and basically like this crab, but it doesn't have to match that exactly. So that gives you a starting point. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to keep on rolling dice, and you're going to fill in all the white space on paper. So you don't want to draw it small, and you don't mind if things touch or cross one behind another. That's all helpful, actually. So first off, just do a crab and an island. And again, don't worry if they look exactly like this. It's just those two things should be on your paper. All right? Sound good? Everybody got that pretty good? We do move along pretty quick here. All right, so let me pull out another character. And so we'll bring two more characters in there. And I actually am rolling it here. You can't tell. You might think I've just fixed the game here, but actually this is the next two that we have. We have the turtle, which is Zani, and Bufo, the frog, and we know a little bit about them because they met. I should put them the other way so they can be talking to each other. So Bufo doesn't say much. He likes the insects on the island. He's a loyal follower of Jujumbi. Zani is the one that's kind of challenging the system because she's from the sea and she is not sure what she thinks about all the rules on the island. So if you want to put them in there somewhere. Now, if you have the island, you probably got water. So maybe Zani is still in the water, swimming over to the island. And Bufo would be somewhere on the land. I don't think he's going to be in the sea because he's a tree frog. All right. So let's add some more environments. I'm going to add, let's see. Well, I don't want the same one. All right. How about this? This one is kind of different. We got two things. We got a pirate ship. So I would like you to draw a pirate ship in there somewhere. And these pirate ships, they look very different depending on who's drawing them. So basically I just put 3 masts, sails, and a bowl underneath with a flag. So the pirate ship should be out there somewhere. And that black thing, that is a cave. So somewhere on the island, probably near the volcano, there is a cave. So you can draw the mouth or opening to a cave. All right. I'm going to flip through here and see if I see other people drawing. Yeah, it looks like you all are drawing. Good job. And now I know I can trust you. You're actually going to draw. All right, good. All right. Now, what if we add a couple more? Now, this was a good one. We need Jujumbi, of course. And we didn't talk about the character, I'm sorry, dolphin? Yes. the dolphin. But he would probably be in the sea, right? He's a sea creature, so he's more of an ally of Zani. And Jajumbi, you know about him. He's the singer of the rules. So a good friend of Bufo, and he's a gecko. So we're going to put them in there somewhere. Now I want you to look at your picture and see, do I have any big white spaces like in the sky or in the ocean or just anywhere on the island? If the answer to that is yes, we're going to fix it because we don't want white spaces. We want filled up with more and more characters. So I'm going to throw in a couple more. I'm actually going to put 3 things in here this time that we haven't had. We haven't had the bat. So actually we got 2 bats. And the other thing would be a cloud. So we got things that would go in the sky here or in the cave. We got 2 bats and a cloud. So add those to your drawing in there. Bats and cloud. And, you know, sometimes I have the kids just make up their own. So some of these, like I think this is a scorpion. I think that's what they told me. It was a scorpion. And a worm. All those animals, I say anything that could go on an island or any like plants, like palm trees. You're going to see lots of palm trees on an island. So just go ahead and add those in your own. Palm trees, birds in the sky, fish in the ocean, big fish too, and little fish, lots of things. So that the whole composition is just full of creatures and objects on the island, plants, clouds. That's what we want. And I realize I'm rushing you along here, but it is a workshop, you know, so we're just, we're getting the basic idea. So the kids would be doing this for quite a while, pretty much one class. And they usually, while they're doing it, I'll go around and I'll be talking to them about what they could add. Like I'll look at their papers and say, well, you know, there's more space over in the ocean here. You could probably draw some fish in there, or how about even adding a new volcano, another one, because that one's very small and far away, so draw one close up. So what I think I'm going to do here while you're drawing that is I am going to turn on a video of the kids drawing. This is from a class that I did down in the Arts Center of Coastal Carolina, and just give you an idea. It's about 8 minutes. So I'm also counting it as a break time. So you can watch the kids draw and hear what I say to them if you don't want to take a break, or you can take a break and that way you won't really miss anything. Well, I don't know how many people are back from break, but what I thought we could do is, if this would be a good chance for anybody to hold up their picture and tell the story that the picture tells. So you just make it up. It's obviously not going to be the same as my book, even though it incorporates some of the elements from it. And the reason I do this, of course, is because we don't want to just give them a blank sheet of paper and say, draw something. That's really hard for kids to come up with anything. So I give them a framework to work in, and then complete latitude about how they express it and what the story is. So this is your chance to like introduce a little chaos into the story and just tell us what you have. So if somebody wants to show your picture and tell us the story that goes with it, that would be great.
I'll go.
Is this Julie?
Yeah, can you see it? Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of drew it with the hands on, the hand thing was on the back, so it might get kind of messy. But the pirate ship is anchored because they are searching for the whale. They're trying to find the whale. And Jumanji and the other animals are trying to help that whale find a hiding place. The whale is kind of out in the open right now. The pirate ship is trying to be like the bird and pluck the fish out of the sea and carry it away. So they're trying to take the whale away. there is a hiding place available, and the baby crab knows the answer of where the hiding place is for the whale.
Very
That's
good.
my
I'm taking notes on that one for the sequel. All right, thanks, Julie. All right, anybody else want to hold one up? All right,
I see Nanette is holding hers up.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Nanette, do you want to tell us about what you drew?
Yeah, you unmute it.
I need to unmute
Yep,
her.
that was on mute. Sorry.
Yep, okay.
I have no story because it's complete chaos. I just filled space. So I didn't draw the animals like in the ocean. I just drew everywhere.
Cool.
Wow.
So I kind of almost, like I said, there's really no story yet. I didn't think about a story as I was drawing. I just drew.
Well, that's all right. We don't necessarily think about the story. What we're doing is looking at that illustration and saying, I think there is a story there.
You know, my goal was to fill up the whole space.
Exploded.
Yeah. My goal was just to fill up the whole space. And I know that kids don't like, they like to draw small for some reason. You can't get kids to draw big and fill up space.
Right.
And so that was my goal, was kind of to draw big and fill up space. There was no order to that.
You're going to have a lot of good opportunities to hide things in there. I can guarantee that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. How about anybody else?
I followed kind of in the same Nanette and just kind of drew as he threw out stuff. I just drew it. I didn't even think about things being inside the water or anything. So I just kind of, anything you put out there, I just did and hoped it went.
But you could tell a story from that, right?
I could, it just will take me, it'll take me a little bit longer than just right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
That's great.
Very good. All right. Anybody else?
I don't know if you can see mine with my filter.
Yep. Quiet, Shay.
I don't know how to take my filter off.
Good.
You got your paper? Let's hold it up. Let's see it.
Well, my filter is like taking it away.
Yeah, it's taking it. Sometimes hold it a little closer to the camera. See if that does. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we saw it for a second. There it is. Nice.
So yeah, just try to fill it up with a bunch of water animals, turtles, dolphins, got the palm trees and the volcanoes down here in the cave, so we can swim in. The ship is down here. So yeah.
Does that have a story yet?
No, it don't, not yet. I'm still thinking about it.
Great job.
Nice. All right. I can see if anybody else is saying, okay.
Here, Miss Klein, are you gonna, oh wait, we've got Miss Hughes.
Okay, so I say that all my artistic ability is musical, and this is proof that that is the case. So as long as we're in a judgment-free zone. Okay, so I realized very quickly that I don't know anything about drawing in the right scale. So my animals are very not in their natural habitat, but I thought maybe the ship over here, they were out just like they were partying. They were out like on a party barge. And so they stopped there at the island and they're all just partying on the island. And the sun is out. It's a really big sun. Yeah.
I like your crab.
Yeah, that's great.
I like the crab.
My dolphin down there has a very strange looking beak. Maybe he's prehistoric or something. I don't know. But anyhow, that's the animals are all partying on the island.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Miss Klein.
I don't know if you can see it. So
great.
I wish I had a bigger piece of paper, and I wrestle with the spontaneity. This is where I relate to students who want more time to go back and tweak things and reflect on things, and the composition of rolling the dice and just placing it. And so that is that chaos and order that I struggle with and balance, wanting to lay down my foreground first and then building up from there. So this is my third attempt, I'm not gonna lie, to try to get it done quickly, to correlate with what you were putting out when you were rolling the dice.
Nice. Well, you did a great job.
Thank you.
All right. Well, probably could do a couple more if anybody else has some. I see somebody there.
Kelly?
Here. Oh,
And then we'll come down to Miss McNeil, or?
okay, whatever.
So I don't have a story yet, but so I got to switch colors, but I enjoyed doing it. And yeah, it was nice to have the structure of like you telling me what to draw. So I could just feel free to do what that is and not have to worry about, you know, being so creative.
Also meant to speed you up.
That too.
Don't spend too long on one thing. Keep going. All right.
Ms. McNeil, did you want to share?
This is mine, and it is a little chaotic like the first. And after I looked at it, because it would take me a little bit to look at it to figure out what my story would be, I agreed. I think someone else said a party, because I have most of my characters in the same area, and I have enjoyed listening to everybody's take on this, how they would, what the story they would create from it. Now I teach little ones, so I don't know that their drawings would definitely wouldn't be this detailed, but I like the idea of using it to get them expressing themselves in some way.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Some of them are actually very good, even with young kids. So that gets their, if you can just get them pushed and starting, they usually do go for it. A lot of times I get disaster movies on there, you know, with the volcano blowing up and everything's getting destroyed and they're all swimming away. That's another common theme. So. Well, that's cool. We're gonna go back to the next Nearpod now. So if I can get that one up.
So is this Nearpod number 2 where we need to put in a new code?
Yeah, Nearpod 2. Yeah, that's
okay. Let me get that for everybody. Okay, here is the code in the chat. So everybody can put in the new Nearpod code for the second part of the presentation.
Come up with a new number. I think mine came up with a new number, but it's going to be the same slides. Let me. And
yes, you can submit number 1. Great. Someone asked, do we submit number 1? Yes, go ahead. Submit
what number?
the first.
What number are you using, Kimberly?
The number that you have is 83HSE.
838SE. No, it doesn't want to do it that way. How do I get back to that one? Let's see.
Oops.
Well, how about if we change this number, because this is the one I've got.
Yeah, just let's do the one that you're. We can put a new code in if we need to.
SN6G.
Why don't you present, and it'll show us your code.
Okay. Oh, you present right from Nearpod, right?
Well, what you're going to do is you present Nearpod, but then you need to share your screen in the Zoom, and it'll show us that top number at the left.
Okay. All right, let's share the screen. All right, I think you got it now, right? There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. It didn't switch codes on me. All right, so SN6.
Tim, do you still have your first Nearpod open, or did you close that one out? I think you have to go to
the other Nearpod.
is it still open on a tab for you or is it closed out?
Let's see.
Because I think people need, okay, it's closed out.
Okay, yeah, I think it's gone.
Okay, don't worry about it.
Right. So we'll go back to where we were. All right. Right, same number. There we go. All right, so I guess you see a picture that I did one of the times when I was doing it with the kids here. And obviously I know the story. So it gives me a little advantage to know some things that I would want to put in there. I already know the story in advance. So anyway, let's look at this picture. Notice how I put everything kind of close together. I filled my white space. So, but this was randomly generated by the cubes. So it's definitely not following the story exactly. So this is what it looked like when I drew it. So I did cheat a little bit. I have to say I put a few hidden pictures in there already. So let's look at some of these hidden pictures. Oh, some people are drawing theirs, right? Oh, you're supposed to look and see if, see if you, I was going to ask you if you see anything in there. There we go. Sorry. Yeah.
So do not, so you want people to hold off on,
you can draw and on the picture, I believe, right?
you know what? Let me share my screen, Tim, and mine has got the picture on there if you want to say a few things, and then we can go back to yours.
All right. Yeah, if you want to look at that picture, you can draw on it. The tools down there will allow you to draw on it. See if you see anything that's already a hidden object, a familiar object that doesn't belong there. And that's how we define them. It's not just something that's small or something that you can barely see. It's a familiar object that doesn't belong in the scene where you see it. So look at that picture and see if you see anything that is an object that doesn't belong where you see it. And then you can circle it using your markers down there. And then I can look at what you did.
So everyone at this time, Tim, I'm showing just the picture, but on their end, they can be now circling pictures. Is that what you want them to do? Yes. Circling hidden things, objects that they're finding.
So are you sharing screen now?
I'm sharing my screen, so it's just showing the hidden picture itself, not everybody.
Let's have you cut out of it, and then I'll go back to the Nearpod. And hopefully, yeah, you'll see what other people are drawing. Yes. I can see what other people are drawing. Maybe you're just drawing on the picture, right?
Yes, so each of us would only see our picture when we're drawing.
What's kind of neat about this, I can see them all. And this is kind of cool because I must always can tell which ones are going to get picked first. There are certain ones that are always a little easier. And so when I'm watching people draw, I can tell which ones are easiest and which ones are hardest just by seeing when they come up. It's kind of a neat way to test your hidden picture. So this is something I need to talk to highlights about. Say, if you really want to know if they're working, this is a good tool for that. You can just watch the class as they find the hidden objects, and I'm looking at them here. So some of them got a lot. I found almost all of them, right? All right, I'm going to go on to the next picture and show you what I found in here. All right. So this is what I have in here. That it's already there. There's a heart up there on top of the cloud. There's a glove that's part of the lava dripping down. Paper clip, just part of the lava as well. A banana in the leaf. There are glasses with the coconuts, pencil on the hut, and then an ice cream cone between the palm trees. So those were ones that I didn't change anything. I just kind of drew them in there as I was going, just because they were pretty obvious. But then there's a few other ones that if you just change a little bit, you've got another hidden picture, which is typically what we do. So in this one, the blue ones are ones that were just altered just a little bit to make a hidden picture. So the star on the tree there, make the palm tree leaves into a star, make a pencil out of the mast, make a worm out of that wave, and then a fish hook on the rock and pizza up there in the trees with coconuts. So that gives you an idea of what we're doing. We're looking for something that's there and also something that's almost there. And then we're just altering it just a little bit. And this is what we would do on our tracing paper. So I'm going to show you this next picture. I think you see a picture of a bear here, right? A bear is swimming. Is that correct?
Yes. This is what we're looking at now.
Yeah, go ahead and start looking for hidden objects in there.
And so we can use our highlighter. It's great.
Yeah, you can use your highlighter to circle them as you find them. This is practice. Yeah, I see some people are finding them. Normally, with kids, I spend quite a while just doing hidden pictures with them so they understand the concept and explain it to them. I will look at a couple other ones with you, but I'm going to trust you to get the concept a little quicker. Because sometimes it's fun to watch kids as they get it. There's usually like a dawning moment. Like all of a sudden they say, oh, I don't see anything. I can't find anything. And all of a sudden it's like, there it is. It's right there, which is kind of fun to see. All right, so you got the idea there, right? You see that often you're finding things between other things, like in a negative space. Sometimes you're finding things that look like something else. So we like a twin of something else. Sometimes you're combining two objects that are right next to each other into one object to make a new thing. We often turn them upside down or sideways to confuse you so that they don't look like the way you typically see them. And often we mix them in with patterns. That's another thing that you're going to see a lot. Those are kind of the main ways that we hide things. And I see some people are doing pretty well here. Does anybody have like 10? Some people have got a lot.
All right, Tim, we're at about 10, 20, we probably should.
10 or 12 is typically how many we hide in a picture. All right,
and so teachers can go ahead and just hit submit when they've got some in there. That way we can.
Right. So I'm watching you all. This is kind of ideal for a teacher's tool because I'm looking over all your shoulders at once. It's looking good. Well, you get the idea. I think you understand how hidden pictures are. They're always an object that doesn't belong in the scene where you see it. And it's usually created from some other parts of the drawing. So like, for instance, in this particular picture, a lot of times kids will say, well, that butterfly is hidden. And I say, well, butterflies like to swim or fly near the water. So he's not really a hidden object. He could belong there. Yeah, and he's not hiding in anything. He's just right there in the air. So I'm trying to get them the idea that when you hide an object, it's not just because it's small or just because you like where it is or something like that. It's something that doesn't really belong in the place you see it. All right. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one here. Because this is really where I go with a lot of this, and it's kind of interesting. And when I started working with science teachers, I realized that animals use the same tricks that we do in hidden pictures. So if you look at that, let's say the zebras over there, they are grouped together so that they look like one object. Their lines run together. And so when a lion or some other predator is trying to catch them, it's really hard for them to separate them into individuals. And so that actually is a form of camouflage that helps the herd, even though they're black and white on a yellow field of grass, but they're still blending together. And then if you look at those two butterflies, that's a viceroy and a monarch, who look very much like each other, but each one is poisonous to different species. So they kind of cover for one another that way. And then we've got the pattern hiding the owl down there in the corner up against the bark of the tree. And then we have this disorientation, which I call it, is something that's like very unfamiliar, like that moth is disguised as bird poop. And it's often something that no animal is going to pay a lot of attention to bird poop, but that because that moth looks like that, it's able to stay safe. And then we have the distraction of the fish. A lot of animals have false eyes. So his real eye is very small and close to a very small mouth. But if you look at where the black spot is, it makes him look like he has a big mouth and a big eye. So he's less likely to be attacked by a predator. Plus, if they did, they would only get part of his fin instead of his head. So it's kind of a protective measure that's using the distraction there, much like we use in pictures as well. But the hardest one here to see is the one with the green leaves. Does anybody see what that animal is? It's kind of using two things here, negative spaces and pattern mixing. Does anybody know what that animal is in the leaves?
Is it a deer?
Yes, it is a fawn.
Fawn.
Yes, so it seems like a negative space because the leaves are in the foreground. So it looks like it's background. But then it's not just background, but it's mixed in with the pattern of the background with a dappled light so that the spots, that's why fawns have spots, so they can hide better in the dappled light. So I think that's just pretty fascinating camouflage there. That's all good stuff. And it is very similar, like I said, to the kind of things that we do in hidden pictures. So, so this is why I think this is a good fit for science because of the camouflage part, and I've done that quite a bit. We do a lot with story, writing and illustration for narrative. And then we're also getting issues with like social diverse cultures interfacing and how they learn to cooperate from the island creatures and sea creatures and so forth. But the last thing, pattern recognition. I don't know if we're going to have time for that, but I did send you a paper in that in the, I don't know what, I think you got sent everything in that folder or Google Doc?
Yes, in the Google document, if they were to scroll through that, I can actually share my screen real quick and show some of the resources that Tim has added at the end of this Google document. So there's an example of a hidden picture, but then we have pattern recognition, and we've got a little, I guess, Tim, a little information about pattern recognition.
And if we have time, we'll get to that. I don't know if we'll get to it, but I also have a rubric in there for grading a hidden picture assignment. And that's, of course, the reading that we did. And then those are the mushroom books. So just a little idea of some other stuff to look at. If we can get to the pattern one, I'll get to that.
Great.
Okay. All right. So that gives you an idea what it can be used for. So I'm going to go out of that now. All right. And I think that you all are ready to actually do some hidden pictures out of your drawings, right? I think that some of what I saw in the pictures that you showed were already kind of had hidden objects in them from the looks of it. So look at your picture and you've kind of gotten the idea. I went through that really quick, I realized. But if you, yeah, the rubric, somebody's asking for the rubric, that's in the materials.
Was it a link, Tim? Was that rubric a link?
Oh, maybe it was a link. I don't know. I'd have to look again, but it is in the doc.
It's not. We'll make sure we get it thrown in there.
But if look at your picture, look between spaces for shapes, negative shapes that might look like an object that's familiar. You know, we did that with the ice cream cone when we did the hands. Also look for things in patterns, like if you have, that's often like you might have a tree pattern of bark, like the palm tree has lines, and often you can find a ruler in there or something like that. Also look for things that look a lot like something else, like if you have coconuts, those are really nice. They're circles. You can make them into glasses.
So Tim, are we looking at our island rule picture that we've drawn?
Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't make
and
that
do we need to get out our tracing paper?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't make that clear. We are looking at your island rule picture.
Okay. And do they need to get out a piece of tracing paper if they have it?
Yes. So go ahead and get your tracing paper out.
Right.
Yeah. And this is when you get to attach it all. So let me see. Let's see. Let me get out of. Can you see me here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. All right. So here's the drawing that I did of the island. And then I get the tracing paper and I fold it. I just like fold it over the edge at the back and then tape it on.
They put a little piece of masking tape on the back?
Yeah, yeah. Just put any kind of piece of tape on the back and then just fold it over. And that way it's much easier to like flip it back and forth as you need to. That's what we did. So if you see this, I looked at my drawing and I said, what do I see in there that looks like it could be something else? So one of the things I drew on the tracing paper was an ice cream cone. Like I say, you can always find ice cream cones. So if you look at the original again, you see the leaf is creating the ice cream, and then the edge of the volcano and the edge of the trunk is creating the cone. So I draw it on the tracing paper because the tracing paper is our answer key. All right. Does that all make sense? All right. So then we're looking for other things like that. I found a piece of pizza that we made out of something over here with rocks, and I think that's part of the ship. And then a pencil, part of the mast, a heart, part of the claws of the crab, which is a pretty easy thing to do. And also the crab often makes a hamburger. If you look at his face, he looks a lot like a hamburger or a sub sandwich. Often you're going to find hearts in the leaves, or I'm sorry, in the clouds. Often in a bat's wing, we might be able to make a saw or something like that. So those are just some hints to get started. So look at your paper, try to see if you can find some places where you would draw a hidden object on your tracing paper, which is your answer key. All right. Because we want to keep it separate for two reasons. Partly because we want to make sure that we really do it right and we don't mess up our original drawing. But also we want to be able to show the kind of the magic of, hey, this is actually in that picture. And maybe you don't see it if I just put it in a picture like that, because it's hiding. But when I put it on the tracing paper, then you can see exactly where it is and know that it is an ice cream cone. So we keep that, that's why we use the tracing paper. So is anybody finding anything? Y'all are working, I see. So I won't rush you too much here. That's why it's important to see all your students and knows they're actually drawing, right? Yeah, everybody's busy. So I'm hoping that some people are finding hidden objects. If you find one and you want to hold it up, you can show us.
I did my turtle in the ocean. Let me see. There we go. And then I hid a leaf on his shell.
Mm-hmm.
So there would be a leaf there.
Very good. Very good. All right. Anybody else want to show one? All right. Go ahead, Julie.
All right. I think it's, can you see it? It's either a milk bottle or a bowling pin in the turtle. And then a frying pan up there.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, and those are things obviously that wouldn't be there. So I like them when they're very divergent from the scene, because you say, okay, no, there's no way there's a frying pan in there, but there it is right there. All right, anybody else have one?
I've got one.
Go ahead.
There's my crab and the ruler.
Sometimes you have to push the papers together so you can see it. There we go. Okay, yeah, so you use the ruler on his hand. All right. And there's a piece of pizza there, right?
Yeah.
Very good. All right. All right, anybody else got to show one?
I also did here is the tree trunk, and with the design, I added a comb because you definitely wouldn't see a hair comb
Right. Very good.
out on the beach.
I think I see a heart there too. Did I just see a heart? Yeah, I think it's
Yes, in the cloud.
Right. Right.
All right, I'll share, but I didn't use the tracing paper. Can't remember what I did. Oh, I did some glasses right there in the, and I did a toothbrush at the front of the boat. Oh, and my coral down here at the bottom, I did a worm. I guess that could be kind of in the sea though. Here in the turtle shell, I did a kite.
Good.
In the coconut, I did a bowling ball and I did a piece of pizza.
Nice. Yeah, you got the idea, definitely. It's the only advantage then to doing a tracing paper is just that you can keep it separate for your answers. It's easier to see them. All right, anybody else got one?
I have a toothbrush and a carrot in the boat. So they're both there.
Toothbrush is one of the easiest things to hide too. Yep, very good. Very good. There's a toothbrush in almost every hidden picture.
I've got where my little rowboat is. That looks like a banana.
Yeah, banana. Nice. Now, sometimes if you have a hard time finding places to hide, what I suggest is fold the tracing paper back and just draw more stuff on your original. You know, because the more places you have to hide things, the easier it is to hide them. So that's just something if you could say, well, I can't figure out where to hide anything else. Just draw some more stuff on the island. All right, anybody else got anything?
I kind of found a bottle. It's like over the lava of my volcano.
Can I see the rest of the picture? Yeah, back it up just a little bit there. Okay, I see. Yeah, right there where Jajumbi is singing. Very good.
I don't know if you can see mine. So I have a porcupine up in my tree now, a crescent moon on the crab's eye. The ruler, I did my lizard that was on the tree is a taco shell. Markers. I'm trying to remember down here. Oh, sombrero, where the water wave came in.
Nice.
It's hard.
A lot of different stuff in there. Good. Yeah, generally, I like to try to encourage them to get at least 12 things because that's typical of what we do in highlights. And if they get 12 things, I say, well, maybe you can get more. You know, it's just, you can always add to the picture and make it even better. All right, anybody else want to show anything? I'm looking at time here. Kimberly, are we done at 11:15, that range?
Yep,
Okay,
11.
I'll keep rolling. I have things to do, but I think I'll skip. I do have a video of the kids finding things, which is fun because they get so excited about it. Just so you know, that's probably my favorite part of doing these presentations is when they discover a hidden object for the first time. They just like, whoa, I can't believe it's actually there. I found it. So, but we'll skip that. I want to show you a couple more just to give you a hint about how it's done. So let me pull up another one here. Share the screen. All right. Just to give you an idea of how one that is nature related. And what I like about this one is it also incorporates the idea of like there's things hidden in the real world underneath the ocean. We don't know what's there unless we have some way of seeing under there. And there's much more hidden under the sea, under the surface, than what we see on the surface. Same way within the ground and mushrooms under the ground and so forth. So here we have hidden objects that we're revealing. I'm not giving you much chance to look for them. I'm just going to put them up, but that gives you an idea of the extra layer of how things are hidden there. All right. And then I'm going to show you another one. Just a similar concept. Let's see. This one's a little easier. We do some where we show all the hidden objects to the side, and that is a lot easier, obviously. So this one is going to reveal some of the objects that are hidden off to the edge, and then we'll show you where they are. So like when I see that banana, I think, where do I see a pattern that has banana-like shapes? And it's in the horns. And that hanger is like well, we're doing the hand, turn it upside down. It's the snow coming off the mountain. And the hanger, turn that one upside down. And it's the nose of the ibex. And then pencils, we can always hide them somewhere. So you just find a place with a pattern and put it right up there next to the horn. So I put the first few in there. I wanted to see if anybody saw the rest of these. Anybody else see the rest of these hidden objects and tell me where they are?
The leaf is in the ear.
Yes, leaf is in the air, correct.
The eyeglasses are in the dirt on the edge of the rock at the bottom.
Yep. Okay.
The
knife.
The pie is under the toothbrush above the eyeglasses.
Yes, yes.
The knife is next to the main horn, but underneath the small little ram that's up there.
Yeah, the saw, right, yeah.
Or saw, sorry.
And the paper clip is a pattern, and that is found in one of the horns, I believe. Yes. Anybody see the heart?
In between the horns of the main guy.
The horns in the cliff, right?
Yeah.
The bell, how about the bell? Bell is upside down. That's one of the ways we're using it to make it a little harder to find. Look at the ibex over to the left, alongside his leg. You see the bell upside down. All right. So that's to give you the idea of how it works. It's definitely about observation skills. I did want to, let's see. I think I can show you a little bit of some of the kids finding things. That's kind of fun. let me pull that one up just for you to watch for a few minutes.
What's different about this is it has a theme to it. It's Western.
Didn't share it, did I? There we go. All right, so this is a thematic hidden picture. And all the hidden objects have a different theme. All the hidden objects are from space. So you've got to look for things from space in this Western scene.
Star on cactus.
Yeah, that is almost always the first one. So that's one of the new ones.
There's an
alien.
person. There's an astronaut.
There is an astronaut suit over here.
There's an alien.
There's an alien. Somebody I know mentioned.
Saturn.
This is where we get into somebody said Saturn. Okay.
And a crowd.
A telescope.
A telescope.
A telescope.
There's a telescope down here. I think this is kind of chaos.
There is a
Though.
rocket
I
on the
enjoy
tail of this
them
lizard here.
looking frantically for things. Let's see what else there is. There's several. Oh, did anybody notice the space shuttle over here?
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah, I see it now.
There's kind of look like a size chair.
That was very hidden.
We have also, this is a crater. This is like a moon crater.
Where's the crater?
Did anybody mention UFO up here?
Oh, there's the UFO.
Hey, Tim, we have a
Then
question
we
for
have
you.
Also, we have actually a constellation here.
What's
What's one of the more famous constellations? What? The Dipper?
So you always have some kids that can never find any hidden objects. So what do you recommend to do to help those students that are really getting frustrated?
Yeah, a lot of times they're overconfident and they get up there, they're sure they can, like if we do it in the classroom, they get up to the board because, kids volunteer. And so they get up there and they can't find it. So I tend to hone them in, like look at a certain part of the picture, just kind of narrow it down till they see it. In the meantime, often other kids are saying, it's right there, it's right there. But, just be quiet. If you can find it, if you just hone in on it. So
like say, look at the bottom left corner or look in this,
right.
Maybe use a grid even.
Right. We do that to help them hone in. Some kids can find things just so easily. It's amazing, really. They just have a knack for it.
Right.
All right. So anyway, that gives you an idea of that. If you see on this side, we also do color hidden pictures and hidden pictures out of photographs that are photoshopped. So that's alterations on that theme. Okay. Does anybody else have any more hidden objects they want to show in the meanwhile? Now that I
maybe we can take some questions, Tim.
Oh yeah, sure.
Let's just because we only have really about 10 minutes left. So I think this would be a great time just to take some questions from some teachers. And then we'll probably be close to time to wrap up.
All right. Anybody have any questions then?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, how often are you still doing hidden pictures for highlights? Or do you do hidden pictures and send them to different magazines and just see who wants to publish it?
Well, I did a whole bunch of them for highlights for a long time, and they are right now, like they're not ordering anymore because they're recycling them a little bit. But I did like 600. so they probably aren't looking for me to do a whole lot more right now. In fact, they've said that, Tim, I think we get enough years for that. But I do also do them for other companies like placemats for menus or for restaurants, things like that. They're kind of a common thing because kids have to wait a long time for their food. So it gives them something to do. So I'm kind of known for it. So I've actually had restaurants in other countries write to me and commission me to do a placemat for their restaurant. So that's fun.
I have a question.
Yeah.
can you take, I know you had just drawing and, you know, things that happen, but could you take an actual story and have them do the illustration and then, you know, illustrate what they see from hearing a story?
Yes. Yes.
And
that's
then
great.
add the hidden pictures?
Yes. In fact, I do that sometimes because what I want them to understand is you can go either way. You can create from the art to the word narrative, or you could take the word narrative and go to the art to enhance the story. So they work together. And if you look at any kind of really good picture book, they are very well integrated that way. The picture tells a lot of the story that the words don't necessarily tell. It enlarges on it. And that's really what we're trying to do with illustrations. So yes, we do.
I was saying one thing that's really cool about your story cubes is that, you know, you have your book, you know, if, you know, for example, we read the Island Rule with you, and then you had taken characters and objects from that book and put them on those story cubes. And then in a way, I can almost see that we would, you know, do our pictures and our hidden pictures. And then we were almost going to be starting to write fan fiction where we take the same characters from the story and we write our own little stories using the same people. So I thought that was a really great bridge for kids to take, as Julie said, any story that you're reading and pull some objects and kind of vague characters and put them on some story cubes and get the kids to draw and then create their own fan fiction. Because I think drawing really does help kids to prepare for creative writing. So I think that was a really great order of events to do some creative writing.
And of course, the younger they are, the more we emphasize the drawing part of it. And then the older they are, maybe a little bit more the words part of it. But I do want them to think of them as going back and forth. They are two tools to tell a story, and they should go together. So that's.
Do you also hide words
in a picture?
Is that a different type of?
Well, we don't really do that. Highlights doesn't like us to do that. They like us to hide art in art. Now, there's certainly ways that you hide things in your writing. In fact, I told a friend of mine that the last book I wrote, she's an Eagles fan. And I said, I hid a line from the Eagles in this book. So, and I'm not going to tell you what chapter it's in. You just look for it and see if you can find it. So yeah, you can do stuff like that. It's just for fun.
Awesome. Other questions?
Yeah, I didn't. It's depends on how many days we have, how much we can spend on writing. Some of the teachers really want to spend more time on the writing part, and it's fine. It's just it takes a little longer for kids to do that.
So Tim, I had a question from a 6th grade teacher saying, you know, could kids, like once they've kind of used that tracing paper to start creating their own hidden pictures, what would be the next step after that? Like say they were reading a novel, they wanted to create a hidden picture based on the novel they're reading. Once they draw a picture with the objects that are just from the story, and then they use a tracing paper to start kind of finding some hidden pictures, what would be the next step after that?
Well, typically we do have them finish them off, you know, like make them with black line and sometimes color them if they want to. Usually I just have them color the hidden objects on the tracing paper because that makes them pop out. And then that can be something they just hang up and show people, hey, this is what I made out of this book that Mr. Davis wrote, and now I made an extra activity to go with it. That's a hidden picture that tells some of the story and has the characters in it. So that's it's sort of like enhancement, I guess you call it, from the story.
Awesome, awesome, great point. And someone was asking, Tim, where are you from?
Did somebody see my cup? Is that what it was? I'm from Western New York.
Okay, but you live in Travelers Rest now, right?
Yes, I live in Travelers Rest, and you can probably find me at one of the coffee shops.
Okay, and one of the things we did notice with the resources that we're going to get fixed is that the mushroom unit that's linked, we do have to change the accessibility settings to allow people to view it. So we will go back and do that at the end of this. And another teacher was just making a point that it might be fun when kids make their own hidden pictures, you could then photocopy them and let the kids find each other's.
Yeah. Usually they hang them up in the hallway or something, as a display. But as far as like the mushroom progression, I like to think of it as a progression because you're doing hidden pictures, which are just hidden right in plain sight visually. And then if you're talking about mushrooms, they're hidden right under the surface and you only see that little tiny bit of them, but they're massive. They're spread throughout the forest, the root system. And so then I've got this next book I want to work on is about caves. So I keep going a little deeper, we're going down into the ground here.
Awesome. Tim, someone else was asking when you're inspired to write, do you kind of do some illustrations as pre-writing before you write your novels, or do you do your illustrations after you do your creative writing?
It can go either way. I've done it both ways. Usually when I'm devising characters, I will draw it first. But as far as the actual writing the plot out, that's just with words. And I usually write down little phrases and ideas of something I want to incorporate. In fact, with the mushroom book, I met with Trisha Kaiser. Do you know Trisha, right?
Oh, yeah, she's great.
Right. Yeah, because I said, you know a lot about mushrooms, and if you were teaching a unit on mushrooms, what would you want in it? And so she and I went through a whole list of things that, as an educator, she would want to cover. And so I did that before I wrote the book. So that way I could just touch on all these things as I was writing, knowing that they could be useful in the future.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think it's always great to do word banks and stuff like that before you write. So that's really great. I mean, even with students, that's a great thing to do. I think someone had another question circling back to what do we do with these kids that are having trouble finding hidden pictures? And I think your answer was to maybe suggest, say, use like a grid format.
Yeah, just kind of hone in on it. Give them a area and then make the area smaller until they see it.
Great idea. And then keep making it bigger. So I think that's a good strategy there.
Yeah. One thing, the pattern recognition paper that's in there, if you read that, it does talk a lot about how some kids are very quick to see patterns. Some kids are very slow to see them. Some people see them where they're not really there. And so it deals with what do you do with each of those situations. And this is actually a problem in all of the disciplines of education. Kids think they get something quickly and yet they're on the wrong track. So you have to bring them back, and other ones get it really quickly and other ones don't. So it's just kind of a way of saying in pattern recognition, this is true. Just like with animals have to do pattern recognition. The ones who do it well are the ones who survive, right? So it's one of those things that's really essential for survival, really.
Awesome. Someone was making a comment that they really liked the ibex picture that you did with the hidden objects. That is a great one. That felt like a very adult, like a more grown up. It was very complex.
Oh, yes, we have adult hidden picture books. I didn't show you that. Highlights has actually produced a book of hidden pictures for adults because they know that you all like them. And they don't want you to feel guilty. It's like, I'm just doing kid stuff. So they have a book about made specifically for adults.
That is so fun. Awesome. And is that just something from the Highlights site, or people just get it on online retailers?
You can just order it from Highlights from their site. And as far as my books go, I've been self-publishing the last few because I'm using them as educational resources. So I know what I want to do, and I don't want somebody to tell me to do something else.
Right, right.
So mine are available on Amazon. So if you want to get a book from Amazon, or if you're in TR, you can get them at Kristen's shop.
Oh, at the Makers Co.
TR Makers, yeah.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So that's a great place to go anyway. So they have a lot of
One
great local.
TR, and Kristen is one of us. She joined. I recruited her because I knew she
did. You did. Awesome. Well, teachers, thank you so much for joining us today. This is perfect timing. It is right now 11 o'clock, so you've got your good 2 hours to go and do lunch before our 1 o'clock session. Just as a reminder, make sure that you have done that attendance question at some point today. It is in that Google document, but I will throw it in the chat again. And then at the end of our session with Sunny, we will give you the code so that you can get credit for today. A few of you did email me that we're having a few issues with the code yesterday, and I've already got Bradley to take care of you. So you should, everyone at this point should have credit for yesterday, no problem. And for those of you that are just joining us today, if you're a year 2 person, at the end of Sunny's section or her class, we will give you the attendance code for your PD credit. And you just have to put that in by 4:30. Also this afternoon, because we will be working with paint, you may want to just put down a piece of newspaper or think about, you know, how you want to be set up to do the printmaking during that 1 o'clock session. You probably need a paper plate in addition to that packet of supplies. So this afternoon, you want to have this packet here. I know we were using the doodle pad a little bit in this session, but you'll want this afternoon as well. And a paper plate and some, you know, maybe newspaper or something down so you don't get paint everywhere. Or an apron or old t-shirt or whatever you want to do. So thank you all. This has been really fabulous. And you can still pick up your supplies at 16 Augusta Street. I will remind my coworkers, they may run out to lunch, but I think we'll be okay. Just send me a message if you're planning to go by and pick stuff up still, so I can just remind them to be there. But all right, guys, thank you for joining us, Tim.
See some of you tomorrow.
Great job today. And we will see everybody back here at 1 o'clock. Thank y'all so much.
Bye-bye.